Next up, we have Neuroscientific Biopharmaceuticals, ASX code NSB, which is developing next generation therapeutics targeting immune medicated inflammatory disorders. Presenting for the company today is CEO Nathan Smith. Nathan, thank you for your time, and over to you.
Thanks, Abby, for the introduction, and it's great to be here. Thank you, Shane Morgan and team, for putting this together. My name is Nathan Smith, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Neuroscientific Biopharmaceuticals. On the ASX, we are listed under NSB. And our organization, Neuroscientific, we're working on and developing stem cell technology, a stem cell technology platform that's really focused on autoimmune disorders and disorders with high to severe inflammation, which our primary target is Crohn's disease. And really the four main pillars that underpin the organization are, number one, our robust company profile. We're sitting around $45–50 million market cap with over $7 million cash in the hand right now, which will take us through the end of next year and the initiation of our clinical trial. The second piece is the StemSmart technology platform. So the StemSmart stem cell technology platform was recently acquired in July of this year. Previously, NSB had taken a neuroscience product and was developing that, but we pivoted to the StemSmart stem cell technology platform recently. So, and this platform is Australian developed and has been out of Western Australia, out of the Royal Perth Hospital, developed there, and has some amazing clinical results, which is the third pillar. We've specifically in our primary target, which is Crohn's disease, refractory Crohn's disease, we had a previous small scale phase 1/2 trial, clinical trial, where we saw 78% of patients who had failed previous lines of treatment. So that includes, and all of the other conventional therapies, including steroids, antibiotics, and even the large blockbuster biologic drugs, such as Humira and Stelara. They failed all of those, but 78% of those patients had a clinical response to our product, which is amazing. And so that strong data is what we're further developing and looking to take to the United States, partner, and take that to commercial. And then finally, with any cell therapy product, the fourth pillar around securing our supply chain is critical. And so we've announced a partnership with QGen Cell Therapeutics, which is an Australian contract manufacturing organization that focuses on cell-based therapies to manufacture our stem cell product, not only for this phase 2, but also to scale towards commercialization as well. Our leadership team and our board have tons of experience. Dr. Anton Uvarov is also on the board of Blink Lab, which Hank presented earlier today. We've also got Rob McKenzie, who's the chair of the Perrin Institute in Western Australia, Paul Fry, who's former partner at Ernst & Young and PwC, and Clark Barlow, who's a financial advisor and capital market specialist, not just here in Australia, but internationally as well. Myself, I've recently joined as the Chief Executive Officer once we acquired the StemSmart technology, but I've got over 25 years in both biologics and cell therapy development, including on GMP manufacturing, commercialization, and clinical trials. And I get a chance to work every day with Dr. Marion Sturm, who's the inventor of the technology. She used to run the manufacturing facility at the Royal Perth Hospital, where she developed this technology. And she's got over 40 years experience in working with stem cells. And then I also get a chance to work with Kathy Cole, who's our Chief Medical Officer and who's driving all of our clinical programs. And so it's a great team, really solid and really well placed to push us forward towards commercial through the later stage clinical trials and commercialization. So the StemSmart technology platform is based on mesenchymal stem cells. And so these are stem cells that we are able to isolate from adult bone marrow. So we take a bone marrow sample, we grow up the cells, and we are able to take the stem cells from that bone marrow. And those stem cells are then manufactured and grown in a patented manufacturing process where the end product, the stem cells that come out in the back end, are actually upregulated. And they are humanized, ready, so that when they're put into patients, they work right away. And so this is a different profile and a different product than some of the other products that are out in the market. Most recently, another type of mesenchymal stem cell from a company called Mesoblast, which I'm sure some of you may have heard of. Mesoblast got approval in the United States for a marketing authorization in the United States late last year. And so that was a huge win. Not only is it marketing authorization, but also reimbursement, and they've actually sold some products this year as well. And so they are demonstrating that pathway to commercialization, which is something that, again, we can take and follow as well. And so those tailwinds are fantastic, not just for Mesoblast and their shareholders, but also for the stem cell and the MSC industry in general, in the fact that they're actually able to take and to provide that pathway to commercialization for the US and for other jurisdictions around the world. We think our product is better. And so we see ourselves as kind of the next generation from Mesoblast product. We've done over 11 early phase clinical trials, and every single time we've demonstrated and seen the fact that these cells work very well in all the indications that we're looking, really around high to severe inflammation, which is where they perform best. The manufacturing process is patented, and then on top of that, we have a rock solid safety profile. We've treated over 200 patients, over 1,100 doses that have been infused into patients, and we haven't seen a serious adverse event from one patient or any patients at all. And so because these stem cells work very well and have high efficacy in patients with high to severe inflammation, we're looking specific. Our first program and the first disease that we're looking at is Crohn's disease, refractory Crohn's disease. And so if you don't know about Crohn's disease, it is a chronic inflammation of the gastrointestinal tract that is prevalent across all ages, from young children, all the way to elder adults. And 30% of these patients are unresponsive to conventional therapies. And we've got a global population of 6 to 8 million, with over 1 million patients in the United States alone. So that's a very significant population. For those patients that fail conventional therapies, their only option is really surgery. And so we see this as a gap in the treatment regime. And so this is where StemSmart can come into play. There's also another subset of patients that have an even more debilitating form of the disease called fistulizing Crohn's, where they form fistulas in their GI tract, and they have no treatment options, and their quality of life is horrendous. So we had some product that was about to expire, and so we were looking at working with, and we opened up a special access program working with gastroenterologists over in Western Australia on a program treating fistulizing Crohn's disease. And so this special access program is an Australian program where the clinician can apply to the TGA to be able to use an unapproved product such as StemSmart on patients that don't have a treatment option, and so under compassionate use grounds. And so we're working with these clinicians so these patients in need can get our product and to treat their fistulizing Crohn's. So, but in doing so, what we're doing is we're able to not only build up excitement within the Crohn's community and the gastroenterologists, but then on top of that, we're able to use the outcomes. And so we actually have a protocol that the clinicians are following. We're able to use those outcomes to directly support our next phase 2 program, which is what we're going to use to take this product to the United States and access the US market. And so right now we have patients being treated. We announced 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago that we have the first cohort of patients that have applied to the TGA and been approved for treatment with our StemSmart technology under this special access program, and we're treating those patients now. The first cohort of patients will be reported by the end of this year, by the end of 2026, with the full program being completed and results being reported by mid-year next year. And so if you're looking ahead, and we put together a timeline, looking ahead 5 years, if you see at the top, the special access program for officializing Crohn's will report at mid-year next year. And in parallel, we're working on the startup activities for our phase 2 clinical trial that will be done not just here in Australia, but also in the United States, giving us access to the US market. And so that trial we are intending to initiate by the end of next year. So the clinical development will be occurring, all the startup activities, bringing on CRO, working with the FDA. We have a pre-IND meeting that we'll be scheduling for the first half of next year as well, and getting the submission to the FDA under an investigational new drug application. And then while that phase 2 trial is going on in Australia and the United States, we'll be working with partnering for our phase 3 study that will be global. And that partnership can, obviously can look a bunch of different ways, but really we would need that support in order to take it to a phase 3, which would be a significant spend for a phase 3 trial. And then the marketing authorization moves beyond that. And then on top of that, this is like we stated at the beginning, StemSmart is a platform technology. Crohn's disease is our first option, and we're the first one that we're looking at, the first indication that we're looking at. But we have a number of other indications that we're looking at where this technology can be very effective. And so we would be in parallel, once we have the phase 2 study for Crohn's disease up and running, we'd be looking at starting up clinical trials for one or two of those other indications. And those indications include beyond Crohn's disease, we're looking at kidney transplantation, we're looking at lung disorders, COPD, lung transplantation, graft versus host disease as well. And so all of those, and these are indications where we already have clinical data. We already know it works in these indications. But there's the capability to expand these indications depending on how we continue to develop the StemSmart technology and broaden the IP platform. If you're looking at just these indications alone, you're looking at a market potential, global market potential of around $35 to $40 billion currently, with potential in 10 years to 60 to 100 billion. So there's a great market that we can capture with this platform technology. Obviously, Crohn's is the first cab off the rank because we've got such great data and it fits a large global population. And then finally, it's really going to be, we're really looking at the supply chain. How do we de-risk the supply chain so that we make sure that, number one, we can deliver to the clinic for the larger phase 2, phase 3 trials, but then also have a secure source supply for commercialization. And so this is why we've announced a partnership with QGen Cell Therapeutics, they have 25 years of manufacturing cell therapy products, not for Australian clinical trials, but then on top of that, and also internationally. They've worked with Atara Therapeutics on their EV-Valo product, which is out in the market as well. And so we're very excited to be working with QGen in growing the manufacturing process and further developing it and broadening our IP. So to summarize everything, there's a global need for a solution for Crohn's disease. The StemSmart patented technology that we have has already demonstrated fantastic results in the clinic. And so what we need to do now is take those results and recapitulate those results in a larger phase 2 trial that accesses the US market. And then from there, we can look at partnering and commercialization down the line. And then looking at potentially expanding into other indications and growing the platform out to be able to treat patients with unmet medical needs in autoimmune disorders. So I will leave it there. I'm happy to answer any questions, and thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Nathan. So I believe you might have touched on this already, but how has the TGA approval for the use of your StemSmart under the Special Access Program assisted your progression towards the next phase of clinical trial work?
Yeah.
There's a lot to get out there, so you've done a good job. You're doing better than me.
Yeah, look, I've had to, it's great telling the story, and I've had to tell it. So, but yes, for the Special Access Program, look, the patients that we're treating, again, are patients that really have no solutions and have a really poor quality of life. And so any solution you can provide these patients, if you see any improvement, that's going to be a win, right? So from a compassionate use perspective, this is, this is something that they want, and the clinicians want to be able to treat patients because they want to see some improvement here, right? But what that does, the data that we get from that, right? Number one, obviously, like I said previously, the excitement that we can build within the community, the patient community, and the clinician community is fantastic. And number two, obviously with the fact that there's a pretty long runway to a phase 2 clinical trial, having this study to be able to having this program to be able to provide some news flow and update and continued demonstration of the efficacy of our product is a fantastic thing. But the data that we get from this will heavily inform our phase 2 study that we're upcoming, right? I mean, and be that the how we dose patients, whether or not we need to continue to maintain patients after initial dosing, are there different things we need to be looking at in specific patients to rule in or rule out patients and for the phase 2 study coming up. So I think we're looking at a number of different ways where we can use the information from this study to inform the next phase 2.
Thanks, Nathan. So, and another question here, why is scaling up manufacturing through your partnership with QGen important at this stage?
Yep. So with any cell therapy products in general are very different in the healthcare space than, say, biologic drugs like Humira or Stelara, or even small molecules like, paracetamol and aspirin, things like that. The cell therapy products are very complex, and that also means the manufacturing is complex. And what we've seen in the past with cell therapy programs that have moved to commercial is that the manufacturing sometimes can be a bottleneck and can actually limit patient access and the ability for these products to sell. And so we want to try to de-risk that as soon as we can. So that's why we've partnered with QGen, because number one, they have the scale to be able to support not just these later phase clinical trials, but also introduction into commercialization. But then number two, they've got experience. They've worked with the TGA, the FDA, and these other regulatory organizations. That really, the de-risking there is really critical from our side, because then that means that we can focus on the things that we need to around the clinical trial, right? So we're working very closely with QGen. Obviously we're very impressed with what they've done to this point. And so we're hoping to grow together as we grow this product and StemSmart into bigger, larger clinical trials and other indications.
Nathan, thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for your presentation. We'll be keeping a close eye on the company as you guys progress.
Great. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, Nathan.